Today's top story. Wizards of the Coast destroys goodwill with the Dungeons & Dragons community. MagFest pokes fun at news outlet Kotaku in a PR stunt. And AI replacing game journalists. All that and more today on the W2 Report. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the W2 Report. I am your host, Sanji Himura, and I am joined today by Lord Crockett Squirrel, who will give us the ground rules as we take a look at this week's meme.
Rule number 1, don't be a dick. Rule number 2, if there are any questions, please refer to rule number 1.
All right. Today we are joined by a Mr. Thomas. Please describe who you are and what makes you so damn cool.
Well, I'll put it this way. I've lived a life that's full. I've traveled down each and every byway, but much more than this. I've done it my way. I am a longtime Dungeons & Dragons enthusiast. I am old school. How old school am I? I remember when THACO was a thing. That's how old school I was.
THACO was originally a thing. You forget.
All right.
Back into the pre-chainmail era.
All right, and of course, breaking news changes everything here at the W2 Report. Breaking this week, Limited Run Games fires their employees for having a conservative viewpoint. Today we are taking a look at this unknown community manager who was fired after an investigation by Limited Run Games by following the libs of TikTok, among other conservatives.
Gina Carano,
among others.
Ian Miles Chong.
Oh, yeah, no. You can't. This is the thing this is the thing that should not be. Everybody remember that Metallica song? Yeah, this is that thing.
Today we are well, not necessarily adding on to the story, but mainly we just wanted you to be aware of how shady Limited Run Games has become.
Is it a question of shadiness, or is it a question of we don't have a high enough ESG score, so we better bow down, or they're not going to give us their money anymore?
Well,
it's one of those things.
Well, the person who started this story happens to be the person who founded a convention.
Cat balls.
Well, this convention happens to be...
Oh, that's right. It's BrodyCon.
BrodyCon.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that guy. What is it? Purple Sparkle, I think the name is?
Purple Tinkler.
What?
Purple Tinker.
Oh, Purple Tinker. I'm sorry.
I was hoping to be Purple Tinkler, because that just would have written in the jokes themselves.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Do we have a picture of Purple Tinker around here somewhere?
We do.
How about you show them?
Let me pull it up.
You should have had it ready.
Well, this is YouTube after all, and we are professionals here.
Are we? You do realize you just gave my wife the giggles. She thinks you're funny, Sanji. Why? But she does.
Oh my God, it's Chris Chan.
Yeah, I'm looking at that second chin and thinking,
So
work on your
Chris
eyebrows
Chin.
there.
Wait a minute, I think
this
it's
person's
Milton.
pronouns.
It's Milton from Office Space.
Yeah.
This person's pronouns happen to be they and she, her.
How about you pick something? Or
course.
better yet, why don't you go with your originals? Yeah, I know. I'm terrifyingly phobic. You know, just kind of foaming at the mouth here because that's got to be a thing. Sigh. Okay.
All right. While we do that, while we remove this thing, let's take a look at some comments because we have some comments.
Oh
For
no!
change.
There we go. Yeah, that's not gonna fly. We already know that.
Wow. It's like there's some stuff going on around here that really irritates the hide out of me.
Somebody's giving you a hard time. I wonder who it is.
Oh, wow. Let's see here. Hide the camera.
I see something.
Hold on. Not yet. There we go. Now we can hide them. There we go. All right. Our second story of the day.
Did we not have any further commentary for the first story? We could do that. That could be fun.
That's true.
What do you think, Thomas? You shut this poor lady up because she follows somebody that, you know, some random internet moron doesn't like?
Well, I'll admit I did a little bit of research before the show because I'm a professional. First off, the tweets in question were from 6 years ago.
Yeah, well, that's definitely a thing.
Yeah, and the second thing is I didn't get a chance to research it in full, but it seems like our purple sprinkler, whatever you want to call her, has made some pretty disparaging comments himself, herself, itself, whatever. So that could boomerang very quickly, and this is why.
Oh, well, it should.
And this is why there's a little saying called "Get woke, go broke."
You noticed?
Yeah.
Purple sparkly thing apparently hasn't.
Well, this person has since privated their accounts.
I wonder why. I can't imagine why they'd want to do that. Not for a second.
Well, anyway, yeah, go ahead.
And that's why you face the Claymore away from you.
Yes.
Yes, that is true.
All the things.
Our second story of the day. We're going to have some commentary over AI replacing game journalists.
You mean they haven't already? What's up with that? Somebody's fallen down the fracking job.
Well, yes. However, there's this one little...
There are commas. Why are there commas?
There's this one little caveat to all of this, is that AI has gotten so big and more intelligent that this happened on the subreddit of our art today. Well, not today, but a couple of days ago. Basically, the moderators of our art do not believe the artist actually drew that.
Well, I don't actually see that as particularly odd.
Well,
I mean, there's all of the there's all of the fun. The hands are good. Everything else is just can be chalked up to other super weirdness.
Well, anyway, what are your thoughts on AI getting so intelligent that game journalists are in danger of losing their jobs?
For the overwhelming majority of game journalists, I'm completely okay with that.
Yeah, if I can interject here about that point.
I know, right?
Oh.
Not that I'm taking any schadenfreude from that, but
well, yeah. If they hadn't gone to all the trouble to poo-poo, to try and destroy little things like, I don't know, Gamergate when they were being criticized, and then told us, and then gaslit everybody, including the TV fucking news. Yeah. Maybe,
Yeah, but I have to admit, it led to one of the worst episodes of Law and Order ever.
Yeah, I know, right? There was, I'll give you that. That was a thing.
The second point I wanted to make about this is, do you want Skynet? Because this is how we get Skynet.
Yeah, that's true.
Of course, I could just be completely wrong. I mean, in all the dystopian science fiction I've ever read, when we've let computers take over, it's always ended great.
Not realizing that AI is programmed.
See, that's just the sci-fi. That's you being paradroid.
Paradroid?
Yes, I said that correctly. I said exactly what I meant and meant exactly what I said. Why? Because I'm an ass.
All right.
If I'm not giving somebody a hard time, it's I'm just not me anymore.
I'm usually his favorite target, so yay.
No, you're not my favorite target. Opal gets way more shit than you do.
Oh.
I would agree with the Opal.
At this point, that the chat realized Opal was not wrong.
Oh. Oh boy. Well, anyway, while we rest and relax, this is the first W2 report of the year. So this is the first W2 report of the year. So what are we looking forward to for 2023?
Some better games.
Yeah, that's true.
We're supposed to be getting Kerbal Space Program 2 and Telluride coming up here towards the end of next month. That'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
What else we got? There was one I was looking at for this month, but I forget what it was. Do you remember, Sanji? I'm sure you do.
Persona 3?
Oh yeah, Persona 3 Portable. Yeah. No idea what they're going to charge for it. Probably the same $40 they charge for P4 for Persona 4 Golden.
Mm-hmm.
Which did actually push over to the to PC pretty well.
I'm honestly surprised because I got Persona 4 on, admittedly, PS3. And
yeah, but that's different.
Yeah, I know.
Persona 3, if you got the FES version, you got an additional story called The Answer. That was it.
Mm.
And you don't always get Persona 3 Portable swapped out The Answer for a semi-canon female protagonist. It's like the alternate version.
Mm.
because that shit was hilarious. And she even had a separate it was the same story, same general storyline, but there was some significant differences on the whole. So yeah.
All right. Our next story is related to AI and game journalists. MagFest poked fun at news outlet Kotaku this week.
Because Shitaku had it coming. Shitaku's had it coming for years. Yes, that's right, Sanji. I'm going to get you in trouble. Why?
Well, anyway, there is the poster in question. We have Pathfinder.
You love that? 404. Journalistic integrity not found. Unfound and unfounded. Oops.
Sorry, folks.
And
of course, MagFest completely apologized and bent the knee. They really shouldn't have.
Well, why wouldn't it? Why would it? It's actually not supposed to, because there are some actual rules going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Rule number 1: never apologize. You made the joke. You need to stand up and own it.
Yeah.
It's just a prank, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Because that one is actually pretty. That one there was actually pretty solid. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. It could be a meme next week.
What? Oh yeah, that could turn into a meme all on its own. Yeah, we don't talk about Paizo. We don't talk about Paizo and Pathfinder yet. Don't worry, that'll change.
That's coming to a W2 report near you.
Yes, that's true.
Please check your listings for local times.
Yep, and just a point here for Kotaku's journalistic integrity. To borrow a phrase, citation fucking needed, and this citation request has been brought to you by Chevrolet.
Of course. But our lead story tonight is in relation to that poster.
Oh noes.
Wizards of the Coast destroys goodwill with Dungeons & Dragons community.
Because of course it does. How about you put that up on the? How about you put that article up on the screen before you reads it, or blows it off, whichever it is you're planning on doing.
Well,
Because I know
there is a little bit of history behind this. I would like to introduce you to one Cynthia Williams. That's her on the screen right there.
She's changed since the Laverne and Shirley days.
Yeah, I know, right?
Well, yes. But Miss Williams happens to be a former vice president and general manager of Microsoft.
Because of course.
Well, at an investor meeting late last year, she said the following.
I'm an idiot.
D&D has never been more popular, and we have great fans and engagement. She started, but the brand is really under-monetized.
Oh, goody! We get DLC in our Dungeons and Dragons. Fuck off. If I want DLC, if I want DLC, I'll give it to you.
Well, anyway, this led to a complete rewrite of a license that Wizards granted 23 years ago.
Yes, with the edition with the release of the third edition, which is widely considered one of the best ever. I think those people are silly, but hey, that's on them.
Well, here is the license in question. I would like to point out a couple of sections in this license. Oh, let's start with, I don't know.
That thing over there.
Section 2. This license applies to any open game content that contains a notice indicating that the open game content may only be used under and in this terms of this license. You must affix such a notice to any open game content that you use. No terms may be added or subtracted from the license except as described by the license itself. No other terms and conditions may be applied to any open game content distributed using this license.
Because stupid.
Well, now
it's kind of stupid.
Let's jump down to Section 4. Grant and consideration. In consideration for agreeing to use this license, the contributors grant you a perpetual, worldwide, royalty-free, non-exclusive license with the exact terms of this license to use in the open game content.
Also known as OGC.
Yep. Section 9.
Section
9. Wizards or its designated agents may publish updated versions of this license. You may use any authorized version of this license to copy, modify, and distribute any open game content originally distributed under any version of this license.
Wait for it.
Here is the problem with all of this. Wizards in a fly-by-night operation sent out Open Game License 1.1.
Because they're kind of stupid.
This morning, I happen to have obtained the full version of 1.1 as it was written by Gizmodo's reporter. Well, actually, no. As it was written by Wizards back in December.
Yes, they have known about this for some time.
Yes. So Open Game License version 1.1 had an NDA applied to it till January 4th.
Of course.
That NDA is no longer applied. So we can read the Open Game License 1.1 all we
they
like.
changed it. They changed it a lot.
So
And
Open Game
not
License
very good.
1.1 was supposed to be revealed to the public January 4th. It
That
went
didn't
into
happen.
it's supposedly supposed to go into effect January 13th.
Which is still like 4 days from now.
Which is 4 days from now. Granted.
Less than a week.
But this section, I'm going to point out something here. A.
Come on, Sanjin, get your shit together.
Here we go. Section 7 of 1.1. This agreement, along with the OGL commercial, an update to a previously available OGL 1.0A, which is no longer an authorized license agreement.
So we authorize we say you could use any authorized license, and then we strip out the part where you're where the old licenses are authorized. Which means you have to use the 1.1 and you have almost no time to sort it out.
Right. Now, Thomas,
this is universally considered a very bad move. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Because A, nobody likes it. Yeah, and they want microtransactions too. That's hilarious. DLC, microtransactions, all of the garbage. So much so that even the garbage is thinking, wow, dude, we ain't got shit.
Stop overachieving. You're making us look bad.
Yes. That garbage was hot at one point, went cold, got reheated 4 or 5 or 6 times, buried in that peat bog, which was then set on fire. And now they're finally getting around to warming it up, and then frozen in Arctic tundra before they finally got around to warming it up again. What the fuck?
Yeah,
who here thinks this was a good idea? I must know.
Yeah, it's not a good idea. It's one of the things that makes Dungeons and Dragons what it isn't about the money. It's all about being able to explore different elements of it. I played in campaigns where it was a combination of magic and psionics and firearms, and it was fun. And what Wizards of the Coast is doing is eliminating the competition, which right now is mainly Pathfinder.
Paizo.
Yeah, and I think the reason is because Wizards of the Coast. Here's what I'm thinking: in looking at the player's handbook for 5th edition of D&D and comparing it to Pathfinder, I'm noticing where I'm kind of seeing a little bit of crossover. So what I'm thinking is that Wizards of the Coast is deciding, you know what, we start adapting some of the things that Pathfinder did to make their game better. So if we start adopting them, then we can take it over through this agreement. But what they're missing, and what they miss about a lot of things that Wizards of the Coast does, is that by doing so, you're stifling creativity. You are preventing people from taking the source material and finding new ways to apply it. To me, that's the wrong way to go, because for Dungeons and Dragons to be as popular as it is, you need a level of imagination. You have to be able to come up with a spacefaring version, or maybe something that is set back in World of Warhawk and or Greyhawk or whatever. But the point being,
Well,
these innovations.
Here's a good one for you. They actually merged Greyhawk and Forgotten Realms at one point.
Yeah, they did.
Which I think is actually still supposedly canon, so they can have all of so that they can have all the things.
And I
think these guys are. Yeah, it was kind of stupid.
Yeah, I'll take you a step further. Look at the back. If you have a hard copy or an electronic copy of the Player's Handbook for 5th edition, take a look at the very back and take a look at their suggested reading list. And if they're trying to pull that and saying, well, here's some stuff you could read to really get into the game more, while at the same time saying, well, here's how you can get inspired, but this is the only way you can utilize it. That is just absolute bullshit.
Well, it gets worse, because that they're applying that retroactively. Mm-hmm. If you're publishing it, it must be concurrent with the existing object. And there's a bunch of fun ESG shit down in ESG/social justice shit down there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to be inclusive, you see. But no, these people have got less than a week to recall all the copies they have on the shelves, and then modify everything to fit.
And which is an impossible task. Which I think Wizards of the Coast as a whole.
And they have to print and reship them.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Lawsuits will happen beforehand.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's the kicker. We were talking about some of the dates that came about. They were supposed to originally do it like on the third or fourth. They originally gave these publishers and the 9 days to adapt this, but they didn't come up with the final version until recently. So that they purposely made it so that it's impossible for any company to be compliant unless they are either they're Sears or they were able to anticipate what Wizards of the Coast was going to do.
See, what's going to happen? What I think is going to happen here is that Wizards of the Coast have put themselves in a fairly enviable position. They can negotiate any other license terms they want, which is 90% likely what they're going to do, and extract huge amounts of cash from they who can't get that done fast enough.
Yeah, and just wait until. Go ahead.
Okay, we happen to have a quote from Ryan Dancey,
who is
the author of the original open game license. He was recently quoted as saying, "Yeah, my public opinion is that Hasbro does not have the power to deauthorize a version of the open game license. If that had been a power we wanted to reserve for Hasbro, we would have enumerated it in the license. I am on record in multiple places in email and blogs and interviews saying that the license could never be revoked. Even Wizards of the Coast themselves, in a prior version of the OGL FAQ, did not believe at the time, which is 2006, that the license could be revoked. Question 7 of that FAQ. Can't Wizards of the Coast change the license in a way I wouldn't like? Yes, it could.
Yes.
However, the license already defines what will happen to content that has been previously distributed under an earlier version. Section 9.
Oops.
As a result, even if Wizards made a change you disagreed with, you could continue to use an earlier acceptable version at your option.
Acceptable.
words,
That's the question. What constitutes acceptable?
In other words, there is no reason for Wizards to ever make a change that the community of people using the open game license would object to.
Yeah, but then they didn't know they were going when they wrote that. They didn't know they were going to wind up being in competition with Paizo, who is doing better because they took 3.5 and then modified it in such a way that it wasn't stupid. At least that's what I hear. I've never actually played Pathfinder. I've been told it is better than 3.5.
It is.
But then I thought I actually, funnily enough, thought very, very lovely things about 4.
To finish what I'm saying here,
No,
there is no reason for Wizards to ever make a change that the community of people using the open game license would object to, because the community would just ignore the change anyway.
Bingo. So what Wizards of the Coast has done with this decision is created an underground market that will drive their the fan base of with the original spirit of Dungeons and Dragons away from Wizards of the Coast, which is going to hurt their bottom line, and just out of
all the lines of bottomness
yes, and I'm just thinking
will
out
be executed promptly.
Yep, and I'm just thinking outside the box here, but I'm wondering whether there's not a possibility for I don't know, class action lawsuit against Wizards of the Coast, or maybe federal intervention to the FTC, different things like that.
Well,
actually, the FTC might be able to do something, primarily because this is decidedly anti-competitive. And
exactly.
Wizards of the Coast is not big enough or bad enough to get around them.
Well, here's more from the 1.1 leaks. You have to pay royalties to Wizards of the Coast for any profit over $750K. If you signed on to 1.1, you granted the ability for Wizards of the Coast to block publications of books they don't like.
Yep, that's the other side of it. We don't like that. We don't like you. We don't like the thing that you're doing. Why don't we like the thing that you're doing? Well,
because reasons.
There's
that's
this
why.
thing is too much. You're providing too much competition for us. So either you, so we're gonna deny you the right to publish and sell this thing unless you're planning on paying quadruple on the royalties.
If you sign on to OGL 1.1, you also grant the ability for Wizards of the Coast to use any open game license content for any purpose.
because that's a thing.
And they also have the ability. You also have the inability to use alternate SRDs.
Yeah, you can only use theirs. Where this is for role playing games, folks. You're only allowed to do the thing.
We will allow
because
you to.
that we let you. And if you build your own system, and we can, and it has any element that was part of ours, we get to shut you down and sue you for $1 billion trillion because fuck you.
And of course, there's the revocation of 1.0A.
Of course.
Now, getting into legal issues, which, as a disclaimer, we are not lawyers. We are going with the plain language of 1.1 and 1.0.
Language is plain and nobody it's not particularly argued at this point.
Right. Because according to RPG.net, they have 3 angles of attack to take down 1.0A. 1, authorization. I'm directly quoting from RPG.net here. The Open Game License 1.0 says that even if new versions of the OGL come out, publishers can continue to use any, quote, authorized version that they like. So it should mean that if Wizards release an awful parody of an open license as 1.1, publishers can continue using 1.0A, except that the alleged leak says that the 1.0A is being deauthorized.
Hello, this is a courtesy call
to Wizards of the Coast. There you go. Okay.
There is actually nothing in the OGL that says what authorized means. It's a gap. It's a big gap in the license, which of course the courts will have to sort out. Given Ryan Delancey's quote, it was fully intended that 1.0 and 1.0A was supposed to be an everlasting covenant between Wizards of the Coast and Open Game License publishers. That goes into 2 and 3. The Open Game License is supposed to be perpetual, which sounds like it should make the whole question of deauthorization moot.
Except it doesn't.
No.
Because fucking reasons, that's why.
But lawyers have weighed in and said that it doesn't mean what a lay person would think it means. Because the word irrevocable wasn't used, it allows for the OGL to be revoked, which goes into intent. Evidence of intent usually can't overcome what is written in a contract, but the question will be whether it can overcome ambiguity, which is authorized, and omission, which is irrevocable. The contract was standing for 23 years. So it should go to say that the intent of the original 1.0A was that it was supposed to be everlasting between Wizards of the Coast and open game content creators. Well, anyway, I'm about out of it. I'm about I'm a little winded, shall we say?
That's crazy talk.
Huh?
You're not allowed to do that.
Well, let me throw in another possible angle that has worked in other legal venues and might work here, and that is the spirit, for lack of a better term, the spirit of the law. For me,
Yeah,
the
you
real
can't. You can't always stick to the letter.
Yep,
That
you
is
have to
true.
check with the spirit.
Strictly to the
And
if you stick strictly to the letter, you may actually wind up with more problems than you think you are.
exactly. The spirit of the law in this particular case goes back to the spirit of the game. What you get, they call them rule books, but in truth, they are just suggestions. And early editions of D&D made this crystal clear. These are guidelines. If something comes along that prevents you from having fun by looking at the letter, go with what makes it fun. With that, you can apply that same logic going forward to this particular agreement. You can say the spirit of the game is such that it allows for adaptation, it allows for expansion, it allows for improvisation. And the fact that it doesn't say irrevocable doesn't change the fact that the covenant is already there. The spirit of the rules is already there. So all you have to do is go ahead.
Go ahead.
So
as I'm
really
given to understand it, whether it's a printed thing or a private thing, for profit or not, they still get to take a look at it, use whatever it is they want, and require approval.
Well, then what you're doing is not only are you going to be facing incredible legal battles going forward, regulatory battles as well, but you're also going to be doing the one thing that any game studio, video games, RPGs, what have you, you're doing the one thing that you should never do, and that is piss off the people you're trying to keep on board. You cannot maintain a strong business by pissing on your market. You have to keep them happy. And given this, the lady who came up with this came from Microsoft, should be a clear sign that this agreement needs to get the blue screen of death.
Peace on.
Of course.
3-finger salute. All 3 fingers.
Actually, it should be 6.
Doesn't matter. You only need 3 for Control, Alt, and Delete.
Oh,
2
yeah,
on
that's
one
true.
hand, 1 on
That's
the
true.
other. As far as I'm concerned, she gets 132. And yes, you can count binary in your fingers and figure out what the hell I'm talking about. If you don't know how to do that, Gurgle is over there.
Yep. And not to mention, I think her business acumen is at the same place that Kotaku's journalistic integrity is. See that you have to call back, kids.
Well, anyway, yeah, go ahead.
It's actually spelled GACHA, but yeah.
Well, anyway, I think it's about time we wrap this up.
We're getting about there. We got about 10 minutes to squirrel around before we really have to.
Well, I figure since we started late, we might as well end a little early.
Yeah, no, but all you, dude. This is your game show.
What they want.
All right. You wouldn't happen to have any final thoughts, would you, Thomas?
Oh, I have a few. And this
is at least one.
And I worked really hard on it, man. But the big part is Wizards of the Coast has become the bane of gaming. And I've seen it with the Magic community. I've seen it with other things they've done, like with Hero Clicks. I've seen them take great ideas and try to turn them into money-making machines, and then wondering why they get
People
such a
don't
bad
follow them.
rap.
Exactly.
Well, there was the whole 5th edition thing that didn't end well. Some people liked it. A lot of people I know despise it.
Mm-hmm.
For every meaning of that particular word, they want it to die a lot.
But at the end of the day, Wizards of the Coast is going to have to deal with the fallout of this, and I'm going to have to say that
they don't get the Fallout license.
That's right. That's Bethesda. but I'm going to say that CD Projekt Red is going to look a lot better this time next year than Wizards of the Coast does because of this fiasco. Cyberpunk 2027 will look like it runs optimally compared to this agreement.
All right, I have to move.
All right, and I wouldn't be surprised, Thomas, to see. I kind of want to say, heads rolling over this.
Yeah, the question will be which heads, and are they the right ones? Because I get the feeling that Wizards of the Coast is still in its own little corporate bubble. It does not understand the gaming culture. It sees gaming as a business, and that's
Right.
not.
And you can't do that.
Exactly, you cannot do that. You have to be at least a fan of the stuff you're promoting, and I don't get that from Wizards of the Coast. What I get from them is,
give me all your money.
Yeah, here's Magic the Gathering, a new pack where you can get one super rare card if you buy 1 million packs, but you'll get a lot of the crud. It's basically turning into it's like online gambling. If DSP were running Wizards of the Coast, it would run exactly like this.
Exactly.
So if anybody from CD, from the people who put out Cyberpunk 2077, don't feel bad. You are going to get company really soon.
Well,
and you won't be the sucker anymore. You won't be the whipping boy. You'll be Nelson wearing the Wang Computers T-shirt. As a Simpsons reference.
Well, anyway, I'd like to thank you, Thomas, for joining us here today.
My pleasure.
Don't be a stranger.
Well, it's kind of hard because I'm strange enough as it is.
Well, people are strange, and things are stranger.
When you're a stranger, that's right.
Faces look ugly when you're alone.
Lord Progress World, I'd like to thank you for joining us as always. And until between now and next week, because we will have a W2 report 10 weeks out of the year before we take a break. Until then, I am Sanji Himura, and I'd like to thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.
The end of the fight.
Hello, folks. This is Morgan Freeman. This concludes our broadcast day. I'm Morgan Freeman. Good night.